What's up, everyone? It is another episode of What's Up, Doc, with everybody's favorite grandfather. What's up, Paw Paw?
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Paw Paw, I got a question for you.
What is the question?
Why is there been such a major attack on our public education system here in America? It's like our country wouldn't have been able to be as great without our education system, and now they're attacking the education system.
That's a long history. And I have to blame our people for not educating their children because they didn't educate themselves about how the education system came about. I'm just going to give you a brief preview, but I'm not attacking our people. I'm just saying that they are not taking the responsibility that they should take, and they are blaming someone else for responsibilities that they're not taking. There is a side of oppression in this, but the most side is we don't understand or don't study our own history. We have a tendency to believe what somebody said. And most of the time, this stuff come from certain ministers that was put in place by the plantation owners. But the education system in America really is based on the education system developed by slaves. Take myself, for instance. My mother educated me while pulling me on the back of her cotton sack. Those cotton sacks was maybe 15 feet long, held 100 pounds of cotton, 150 pounds of cotton. It was heavy. But her baby rode back there while she taught him her ABCs when there was no teacher at the end of the field row in the shade to teach the children. And they had certain languages or songs they would start singing when the plantation overseer came, and so the kids started picking cotton wherever they was and working to keep them from knowing that they was being educated. Because education was a death sentence. Not just for black people, but for white people too. If you was ignorant, people could tell you anything and do anything. That's why they didn't want you to read and write. That's why they didn't want you to understand literature or communicate with other plantations and other people. They didn't want white people to communicate with black people because they would learn that black people wasn't ignorant like the rich man and the oppressor wanted you to believe. It's just like Uncle Tom. If most men, black men, knew that being called Uncle Tom was a badge of honor, that's it. But the white man or the rich man, let me stop saying the white man, that's wrong. The oppressor made you believe Uncle Tom just loved him and loved working for him. When he had Sambo beat him every day, you know, to keep him oppressed. So what you hear, you can't just believe it. Even from your own relatives and parents, you got to get up off your behind and go do your investigation so you know, especially in the state of Louisiana. Now, white people think that they doing fine because I was getting privileges from this. But you were paying for those privileges in blood. You paying for those privileges in labor and in ignorance. You was being devastated just as bad as I was. Only a few of you was getting the privilege. Look how you died in the Civil War. What was you fighting for? You talking about your right. You wasn't fighting for your right. You was fighting for the wealthy man to keep a slave. But anyway, let's stick to education. What happened was, in the education system, you had to be educated the best you could. So the churches and the pastors and them did the best that they could. They taught us to read and write and taught you to keep your mouth closed. And your parents had to teach you to play ignorant because it's going to be detrimental to your health dealing with the police department, who was an agent of the oppressor. See, there was police for white people, some white folks, but they was agents for us, like Gestapo. They was to watch you, to have complete control. They could murder you. They could do anything if they found out you was educated. So education was a system that we had to keep secret. So after the war, our people say, okay, we can educate ourselves now. So they developed a system. That system educated America to the point until we start to realize, or the oppressors start to realize, wait a minute, if all these people get educated, we can't control them like we want to. They're going to start demanding a share of everything. So 50 years ago, back when we was fighting to get an education, white people thought that they was just getting the education free, but they was oppressing them too. But the education system that was developed by African Americans, that ended up being the public education system, really, that's what it come from. The slaves developed that system. All right. We went to school, like myself. I never bought any paper, any pencils, any school supplies. The only thing my parents had to do with me is get me some raggedy clothes, whatever they had, wash my face, and get me to school. And I had to walk 6 miles to school when I started in the first grade, to a one-room schoolhouse that taught us. But it was an education system that expanded and educated the nation. You got to stop and ask yourself, why is it all of a sudden you need a charter school? You need a private school. You need an independent school. The man want to keep certain schools because he want to keep education from everybody. And he want to educate the other white man the way he want him educated, not the way he should be educated. He want to be able to take him these lies home and have his kids believe it, and his wife and his family believe it. So he restricted certain rights and freedoms from them so they couldn't get the exact information. He restricted them from me, told them I was going to rape them, I was going to kill them, I was going to rebel and chop their head off. Now, I want you to think about this. How many slave rebellions that came up where black people just wholesale killed white people? They never messed with no white people who was on their level, or poor white people. They never ran in their home and chopped their heads off. It was the cruel masters who hanged them, beat them, trampled them down with horses. But the white man fooled them and told them that they're going to come to you with a machete and rape your wife and bloody your daughter and all that. That's what he was doing. Not just the black women and girls, but the white girls too. He wanted to keep us uneducated. If we're going to spend our money, why would we want to privatize a school? If we're going to put good educators in our public school like we had before, pay them good. No private teacher can teach no kid no better than a good educated educator. That's just a lie to make you feel different, to make you think you white or you black special. That's all it is. Listen, when I went to school, guess what? I was able to take shop, metal science. I was able to sew. I was able to learn cooking. I was able to learn auto repair. All of this stuff was in high school, middle school and high school. I learned how to be a citizen, how to work in high school. I didn't buy no paper. When I left to go home in the evening time, I had 5 or 6 books in my, toting them around. We didn't have no no backpacks then. You carried your books and hope your girlfriend carried her books, because you had so many of them. And you talked about education stuff on the way home. Now they give the kids a sheet of paper out of a book and steal our tax money. I'm talking about white people too. They ain't no different. They want you ignorant too. They want you ignorant to me so you can hate me. They want me ignorant to you so I can hate you. But it ain't gonna happen, because we look into it. We know when they standing before us lying. A lot of us do. But you thought the police was regular police to us, like they is to you. You thought we didn't want a job because we wasn't on the job. That's a lie. You got to start using your head and stop going to the trough eating junk and ignorance like a pig and start using your head, both black and white. Your people just didn't sit down and take no slavery. They fought and rebelled all kinds of ways. But if you don't want to be from Africa, you don't want to be an African, you don't want to be who you really are and where your origin come from, you're going to oppress what your people did that was of dignity. Our women did all kinds of things to learn and to educate you, to teach you stuff while working in the big house. So did our men. But if you don't take initiative on your own to learn about your own people and how they escaped from this place going to Canada and other places to live in peace, how you gonna know they did that? You gonna think that they was lazy and didn't, why did they take being a slave? They didn't take it. Even the beginning when they took us from our nation, we jumped off of ships. We attacked ships and made them the crews on ships and stuff. They had to kill a lot of us because we didn't take it. Now let's take our rebellions in this country. The reason you don't know about them because you haven't tried to learn. They used to kill us or beat us to death just because we learned how to write our name. Now, come on, white folks, you knew this. You was enjoying those privileges. You knew a lot of this stuff. You didn't want to reel up to it because you were sitting in church lying to yourself talking about you're a Christian. And black people were sitting in church lying to themselves talking about they were Christian, but they were afraid to die like the others did. But they were dying anyway. You really had nothing to lose. They were going to hang you, shoot you, or kill you when they got ready. You was trying to save yourself by not fighting, and you was actually killing yourself by slow attrition. When you looked at those people hanged in the trees and murdered, how long you think that would have lasted if you found 50 or 60 white people hanging in a tree or getting their head posted on a stick? That wouldn't have lasted very long. How long will you think it'll last if the police who beat up people, now I'm talking about the ones who do this, beat up people, got beat up and stomped in the ground. How long you think they would have been stomping black people in the ground? They'd have stopped that. But by us trying to avoid them doing it, that made them more feel